Okay.
Okay.
We
Fabulous.
we are now recording and I'm clicking live on Facebook.
Okay.
Yay. Give it just a
Okay.
moment. It'll say live, but it takes just a moment.
Yeah.
Share on a page you manage. And turn Lisa.
Give it a top.
Purpose. I'm just going to say purpose so that'll be quick.
We're going to dance?
What'd you say?
She said we're gonna dance.
I hear her doing that.
Yeah.
We're going to dance.
Oh, can you see me still?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Because I can't see you for just a minute. There's just always that lag.
Right.
And then I'm doing. Then I always have to kind of get on the screen. Oh, there you are. Yeah. Oh, gosh. And I got to spell it correctly. It's so far away. Okay.
You got to hit return or do something. You got it in, but you don't have it in.
Okay.
Entered.
Enter. Go live.
Yeah.
Oh, 1 second. It's not letting me go live. I'm just going to say hi. So that, there we go. That's it. Okay. You can say hi while I get it back to the right screen. How about that?
Okay.
Setting up your webinar for a Facebook Live. Okay. Then I can probably push this button, right? Okay. Ooh. There we are. Hi.
Hey, I'm Dart.
I'm Lisa.
We're glad to be here. Glad to welcome everybody here tonight. So first off, we want to tell a little bit about ourselves and that we believe that life is made up of relationships, health, and wealth.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Well, you know what else we believe?
What's that?
We believe financial planning should be fun because we want your future financial picture to look fun and be able to enjoy your life. Right, Dart?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We like to have fun, right?
That's right.
Yes, and you should too.
Right. And so tonight's guest is Megha Bradley. Lisa, would you introduce our guest?
Oh, Megha is just such a dear friend. She's amazing. Uh-oh. Dart, you're losing us.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's
There
easier to
it
see.
is.
Sorry. Okay. So
We
no,
love technology.
I know it can be so.
It's an
frustrating.
adventure, isn't it?
It is.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, no, Megha is incredible. She's wonderful, and every time that I'm around her, I walk away feeling better about myself. I walk away feeling like, oh, I was just supposed to meet that person. Oh, I was just supposed to see her, or oh, there's just something special about her. You know, when you meet someone and you're just like, oh, that's my kind of tribe. Like,
Right.
That's how I feel about Megha. Like, she's incredible. She's amazing and she's fun. And I think that you all are going to love her as well. So welcome, Megha.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah.
Nice to see you again.
Yes. Well, we have lots of questions for you.
Fire away.
Fire
Wherever you want to go.
Okay.
So tonight we want to talk about purpose, but before we roll into that, what does purpose mean to you, Megha?
Well, purpose to me is the divine calling that is upon your life. And for me, that encompasses not just the gifts that we have, but many times the experiences, as Lisa was mentioning earlier. It's not, it's all the pieces of the path of the kaleidoscope that makes life what it is, and then to understand where it's going. And therefore, just like anywhere, right? Just like you guys are in financial planning, right? You cannot get to the financial independence destination or wherever you want to be if there is not a pathway. And to me, purpose is the pathway.
It doesn't happen by accident.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite sayings is people don't fail. They don't plan to fail. They just fail to plan.
Right.
Yeah. Well, okay. So tonight, the topic for our conversation is the life-saving power of purpose. But I want to ask you, what makes it life-saving, Megha?
Well, that's my, I have this as a keynote speech that I created in the follow-up to having survived a near fatal car accident, that thanks to having done the purpose work prior, I ended up having a very clear list of things that I was here to do on this planet and a clear understanding of that. And when this accident happened, which, by the way, don't text and drive, because that's why it happened. Somebody wasn't paying attention, ran into us at full speed. We were in a dead stop on an interstate. It happened in a matter of seconds, right? And so in the matter of seconds, you think you're prepared. You think, I'll have time to plan and live my life and do the things I want to do. And typically we kind of sit back on our laurels with that. And I say that because we get busy, and I can speak for myself. I got busy. I was busy. I had a 4-month-old at the time. He's now 7. He was in the car with me, and in a matter of moments, the entire world collapsed on us. And I found myself in this vehicle, pinned in the car. I'd had an out-of-body experience where I literally crossed in and out of my body. And the people that were holding onto my hand while the life flight helicopter got cleared and landed and all that stuff that happens, there's not a life flight helicopter just hanging around. It takes about 10 minutes,
Right.
15 minutes to get there.
Right.
Yeah.
And they were holding my hand and they were screaming, like, don't go to the light. I actually saw the light, right? And so this experience, I was a total peace. Now, my faith and my spiritual path has been something that's really been the only anchor that's ever been in my life. And if you were to say, what's my story of witness, it's that my faith has been the only thing that's really kept me on track. And in that moment, I was completely at peace with the fact that I didn't know what was going to happen. There was only the present moment in that moment. And I was quite okay to just fade into the sleep. Yeah. And I was like, I'm gonna go. And they were like, no, stay away from the light. And I'm like, why? I'm good. And when you're fading into that moment with peace, what's the compelling reason to stay? And it was in that moment that I got to have the experience of being a soul at choice. And then it hit me, literally those movie scenes. I now understand why they make those movie scenes where all of a sudden everything comes rushing back in, because one of the people said, talk to us about anything you can think of. I wasn't worried about my little boy. I wasn't worried about my husband at the time. I wasn't worried about my other son. I wasn't worried about any of it going away. And then in that single moment, I remembered that I had not done what God had me here to do in this life. And because that, I hung on and literally kind of came back to consciousness. It sort of lit me back up because I was fading off to the dark night. And that's why I say it's the life-saving power of purpose, because I work with a lot of people who, I am not a therapist. I don't claim to be one, but I work with a lot of people who have suicidal ideations, especially in this day and age. And the number of people that I have share with me the depth of their despair right now, it's massive. And it's every single week. I know another person in our networks, people that we bump up against and know in circle, who have said, I've really thought about just turning off the lights. And it's purpose that when we get to it in the work, when we remember why we're here, even though it may look like the job is gone, the husband is gone, it's all been ripped from us. If we can remember the purpose for which we have come into this existence, then we can find an anchor even in the deepest storm. And it may save someone's life for them to have that.
Absolutely.
And even if you're not crystal clear, but just to know the general directionality of your purpose of your existence.
Yeah. Okay. Are y'all trying to dry your eyes right now? It's an amazing story, but so Megha, tell us about because it's important. You knew in that moment that people don't need to wait until they have just a life or death moment to get there,
Yes.
you know, for this to happen.
Right.
So okay, so we're going to talk about what that means. So what led you to discovering your purpose in the first place? I think that's important. This is what people need to hear. They need this.
Yeah. So back then, I was 2009. It was the spring of 2009. My friend Wendy Watkins, I give full shout out, honor and love to Wendy, because I sent her a message one time. I said, you know, thank you for helping me stay here when I didn't have another reason. She became a certified facilitator, something called the Passion Test. And she said, hey, come to my workshop. Oh, okay, fine. I wandered in. I got to the workshop. We go through this process, and the process, which I am now a certified Passion Test facilitator, as you can imagine, I was like, I'm going to pay this forward to other people.
Yes.
So I did this exercise, and one of the first things that happened is I came from a deep amount of trauma in my childhood. And I had done a pretty good amount of work at that point when I took the Passion Test to understand the context of that in my life and how that was equipping for me to be of service. And again, back to perspective, once you can put tragedy and suffering and things that you not necessarily put on your star plaques and your MBA, you know, like, but those things. And so I
carry them around.
Yes.
Yeah,
They're not on your wall, but they're somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Top credentials.
Yeah.
So I took this Passion Test, and I know, speaking for women, you know, I think we're kind of given a bill. At least our generation of women, modern, 20-something-year-olds may not necessarily go, that's not the song we were taught, but ours was get married, have kids, get the college degree, do all this stuff. And if you check all those boxes, then you're going to be okay. Well, I took this Passion Test, and my number one passion was to help transform cycles of generational abuse and poverty. Now, at the time, I had just gotten married, and we were talking, about having a kid. So I took this Passion Test, and it sort of disoriented me, because the whole time, all these years as a woman, I had been living my life with the inadequacy of, I am not a mom, and my marriages in the past had been so I was like, I felt incomplete, but I had been always on path to do the work I was doing. So I took the Passion Test, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, yeah, but that's confusing. It means me and a mom isn't the most important thing in my life. Yes. But it's about getting to the soul and to the heart, and like what resonates here. And so I had done that years before. So when this came flooding into my reality in April Fool's Day, 2014, it was like, I'm glad I went to that 4-hour workshop.
Right.
It was only $97 or whatever it was. It was like nothing, right? It was like, wasn't the biggest thing I'd ever done,
right?
But it was the most significant.
Well, if we could pause here for a moment, and how do people reach you if they're saying, oh, I would like to do that? Like, how could they reach you to do that, Megha?
Well, you can go to we're feeding this live on Facebook. I know not everybody may necessarily be on Facebook, but just connect directly with me here on Facebook. And you can go to my business page, which is Megha, MEGHA Success page, and drop a note in there, and I'll get in touch. Or if you're in my circle already, just send me a message directly. So that's the best way.
Yeah, and y'all definitely reach out to her. She's incredible and amazing. But
right.
I think that you touched on some.
Well,
I'm sorry.
We want to take a break and thank McKenna for being with us. And she's putting it into the chat box, and so she's our hall monitor, and she's an amazing friend and wonderful lady.
She's awesome. We love you, McKenna.
Right.
Yes.
Hi, McKenna.
But I think that you touched on something there in your story, that like how you had trauma in your childhood, but don't you feel like everybody has some sort of trauma in their childhood, even if they think, oh, my childhood was great, and then I noticed, like, it could be something so simple as, like this lady was saying, she dropped her ice cream on the playground and nobody came to pick her up, and for her that was trauma. And then somebody else was Oh, I went many nights to bed without food because we didn't have food, and my dad came in drunk and he beat my mom. Like, trauma can mean all different things, can it not, Megha?
Trauma is yes, it's extremely wide spectrum in terms of what it can be. And oftentimes we'll have people in our life, if number one, we haven't explained it well, or maybe we just developed a story around whatever happened, that people will dismiss it, or it becomes sort of like, oh yeah, she always talks about that, or whatever. But trauma, it's an impact to the psyche, really. And because 95% of us is the iceberg below the surface, there's so many things in compartments that people pack away that they forget. I had a 60, so a real quick example. I had a 60, I think she was 62 at the time, 62-year-old client, petrified to speak. She's a coach, but petrified to speak and lead a group. We did some work to dig into why she was so petrified to speak. Now, obviously, here speaking is like the number one fear. People would rather die than speak. And she all of a sudden had this aha epiphany, remembering that the place where she developed that, like she hadn't remembered this experience, but it popped up. And she said, oh, I remembered that somebody made fun of me. I wore a dress to kindergarten. I was so excited about my dress. And this little boy picked on me and made fun of my dress. And that was the moment that I decided that it wasn't safe for me to stand up and be seen.
Wow. Isn't that amazing?
It's sometimes tiny moments, many times before the age of 7.
Yes.
So the dog wants to join
No,
the conversation.
Stella comes in there. We've got to let everyone see her. She has the cutest dog, y'all.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
No. So what is the difference between purpose and passions?
So one of my coaches said, she said something about passion is an uncontrollable emotion versus purpose, which is focused, it's controlled, it has structure to it. And so there's nothing wrong with being passionate and excited and full of emotion and energy. And of course, I'm a facilitator of something called the passion test. But really what it is that even your passions must be directed and have energy flowing in a certain direction. Otherwise, you're all over the board.
Right.
So that's really the key difference is like how intentional you tend to the passion.
Yeah, that's good. But do you think that people could be happy without discovering their purpose?
I think a great percentage of human beings make it through life. And you read those articles about, what's the regrets of people's death, on their deathbed. I think the greater majority of us find a way to bridge happiness without necessarily ever really knowing purpose. I run into people every day who you could say are happy. They're happy enough. Their marriage is good enough. Their situation is good enough. And God forbid someone rock the boat on that and question it, so there's usually people around us that are like, it's good enough. Why you gotta mess with it? So there's a lot of souls who walk through this life with mediocrity as the standard. And how dare you as the, what's your problem? Why can't you just get along? We don't want to deal with that. And so I think that's the key difference is that you can find happiness, but can you find joy? And I think that's the key distinction is joy is a measurable, deep, visceral, soul-based emotion, whereas happiness, you can find happiness in a bowl of ice cream, but then the ice cream's gone. It's why addictions are such a prevalent issue. People find happiness in a lot of things that do not bring them joy.
Yeah, that is a great statement. And we need to repeat that.
Yeah. Well, a friend of mine, his mother is a nurse in hospice. And so he just asked her the question, other than natural causes, your body just gives out. Other than that, why do people die? Why do they pass away? And she said, first, maybe they run out of money. They can no longer pay for the care, or they run out of love. People stop coming to see them,
Mm-hmm.
or they run out of purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
So
good.
so it's very powerful.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
But do we strive sometimes to like search for that purpose? Do we strive sometimes to just, uh, fighting back, like you talk about people are struggling with suicide? Um, do you find that that could be their anchor once they get that deep in their soul? I have a purpose to fulfill, and it's their driving force, even though they may have thoughts some days of being sad or grieving terribly or a broken heart. But if they have that anchor, it's something to hold on to for them to push through.
Yes. And, one of the things, I had a client recently that said, I really, their business is failing and they don't have a relationship. And they decided to stop. They ended one of their addictions through some of the work that we did. So they used to numb out with the addiction. Now they're like, well, that's no fun anymore because I don't want to have the addiction. And this person said to me, maybe I should just turn up an early grave, and that would just be simpler because, he's 50 some odd years old, right? And, maybe it would just be easier to stop fighting. And I think that's where a lot of people just feel battered. They're just battered. It's like, oh my gosh, how many more frozen weeks of the storm where, another week without work? I mean, I hope this reaches somebody that just needs that right now. Because it's so easy to go, I can't take one more hit. And then here comes 2021 or 2020 again, it's like, and the thing is that if you can come to understand there will be a hit, but it's what you do with the hit. That's the difference. Whereas if you have no sense of a focal point for purpose, then many times it's like staring at a brick wall. And you're boxed in on four sides of that brick wall. There's not a door, there's not an escape, there's not a ring bell, there's nothing. And it's disturbing actually to me, and especially because of the work that I do. And I could have gone the route of becoming a psychologist and getting licensed and doing all that stuff, but I really work in the spiritual realm because this is soul crisis that people are at. And you can talk it out with your therapist and then still go home and decide you're going to leave. And the key thing is, to me, when you understand, and so you know this, you know that I have another tool in my toolbox besides being a passion test facilitator. And that's that I do something called scientific hand analysis, not to be confused with palmistry or any fortune telling or anything like that. But our fingerprints, which come in at 14 weeks in utero and fade 3 days after we die. The guy created the science to say, what in the world? How do 7 billion people and all the people that have come before not have the same configure? You can't find a duplication in the fingerprint configuration. So we actually, through the science that I'm trained in, we look at the fingerprints and we determine gifts and through the fingertips specifically, life purpose. And there is a way to do that. So it marries up to the, what are you passionate about, the passion test. But it's like when you start living that, you realize that God has a plan, or the creator has a plan, or whatever by which name you call higher source, has a plan that you were born with, a blueprint, a map, that if you were to follow it, the doors begin to unlock. And the places where you were taught by your family, by your society, whatever those are, that you've been trying to push on a metal door that's got no way it's going to open for you. And all the time you think you're inadequate. Well, the only thing was that you just were pushing on the wrong door.
Oh, that's good.
When you can tune to that, then you go, oh my gosh, the door is just open. And is it easy? No. The most difficult thing about it is to surrender the ego.
Yeah.
Which is big. You guys are in financial. I'm sure you deal with all kinds of ego drama that goes on in the soul of fighting with money.
Our clients are perfect, level-headed.
So many times we're just so ego bound. We will let pride kill us
Yeah.
whether it's through anger, addiction, you
Right.
know, or desperation.
Yeah.
So pride
I
is the
pride
thing.
is equal with ego. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that you said is so important. I personally feel like the spirit realm is uh more real to me than the natural realm. It's so important.
Hmm.
And knowing that we have a purpose here. We were put on this earth for a reason. And it may
Hmm.
take your whole life. I think I just want to encourage people. It may take your whole life to discover that or try to figure that out. Or you might feel like it's
Hmm.
one thing and then that changes. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But I think that
Hmm.
whether you're watching this live or watching it on the replay, I'm sure y'all are like, I want to do that thing.
well,
Yeah.
it's one of those things is that I think I project that retirement, what the way that someone defined retirement at age 65 or age 70 is going to be a thing of the past, because I believe that they're looking for a transition instead of
Hmm.
retirement.
Yeah.
It's because
True.
it's what is next. I
Hmm.
worked for this, and my career was a CPA or my career was an engineer, but that wasn't my purpose.
Yeah.
And I was
Right.
adequate at it, and then so we help people transition to the next. We're happy
Yeah.
not even calling it retirement, but maybe
Yeah, stepping into their purpose.
that's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Uh, but shout out your it's Megha Bradley if y'all want to reach her on Facebook, or Megha.
MEGHA. Mega. Yeah.
Important. Important.
Yes, you'll search for a long time to find that other one.
Megha, do you just have a tip? So say somebody's watching and they feel like, do you have any little tips for them just to get through those moments, the hard moments that I'm not sure exactly what my purpose is, but I'm really having a hard time. I'm really having a hard day, or they just feel like, what do I do to get through? Do you have any little tips for them that
Yeah.
get there?
Yeah. One of them is to take your shoes off and go stand in the ground. There is a huge, it sounds silly, right? But just take your shoes off, go stand in the grass, even if it's cold for a minute, whatever. Well, maybe the ice wouldn't be so good, but, take your shoes off, go stand in the ground, close your eyes, put your hand on your heart, and then just speak whatever it is that you're really up against. Like, what I mean by that is be like, I don't know what direction to take my life right now. If I was living the life that I want to be living, I would do X, Y, Z, and just start speaking it. And the thing is the eyes closed and the hand on the heart anchors you in and out of the ego. We were just talking about the ego, because the ego's up here, it's running crazy, it's trying to decide if, is it okay to do this? Yeah. But in your body knows. And I would say that the other thing is, feel into journaling is fantastic. So many people resist writing anything, but even if the journaling and pick up The Artist's Way as a book. I mean, there's many books. I would say that there's The Artist's Way is a great book to really get your creative flow going every day. And many times our creativity is our connection to God, because it is through that the voice and the wisdom that is us truly can come out and into the world. So if you are not being creative, go do something creative, or go walk in the woods, or go put your feet in the ground. Do something that literally is a zero cost deal. To pick up the pen and just start writing. I don't know what I'm going to write on this paper. And if you write it for 5 minutes, set a timer, and then just see what starts to unlock. So if you're, and obviously, yes, all the standard, call your mental health professional, make sure you tell a friend. But I know for a fact that a lot of people, there's a line in the hand that if I look at someone's hand, I can actually see, we call it a suicide line. We can actually see where psychological depression and emotional destitution has created a line in the hand. I had a guy one time at a festival at the fairgrounds. I looked at his hand and I leaned into him. And to say this is oh so cautiously, I said, have you had thoughts about taking your life? I know it's a strange question. You came here for a hand reading, And his eyes just like filled with tears. His wife is standing behind him like, la, 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 la. And he's like, I haven't known how to tell anybody.
Oh.
So this is really important to me because, I mean, I've literally watched a woman entrepreneur that's in my community the other day put on Facebook as a full announcement, I'm thinking of killing myself. So I hate to bring this up, you know, it's like, oh, here we are, come to the Dart and Lisa show, talk about this, but we are in a time of spiritual crisis.
Absolutely. I think we should talk.
Say it, even if it is on Facebook. She ended up getting a GoFundMe, and she got what the issue was, which was that she didn't have a home anymore for her kids and her. And they got a GoFundMe up because Facebook, shout out, yes, I'm thinking about exiting. It turned around, and now she's got a place to live, and she's got support around her.
Oh,
so step over the bridge of fear of being judged and stand in the trust that you have a purpose. Absolutely. And that those who love you will show up. And even those who don't know you love you.
Yeah.
And they will show up.
Yes. And I think one thing that you said earlier about just going outside, taking off your socks and shoes, standing in the ground. And then when you said, I don't know what my purpose is, but if I didn't have any fear or anything to worry about, I would be doing. Don't you think that a lot of times people just don't take the time to just evaluate themselves or feel like they have their own permission to think, to dream?
Right. Yeah. No, they feel like they're going to most common is shame. And I love Brene Brown, you know, go pick up a Brene Brown Audible somewhere, or go read it at the library, whatever, you know, but shame is anchored into us at such a young age that we oftentimes carry shame as the silencer to, we have to do things this way. I'm in this job I have to be in. I'm in this relationship I have to be in. I am so obligated that there is no exit for me other than I can't bear to think of what it is to live this way anymore. And the truth is you have the right as a human being standing in the space of who you are to choose to decommit from that which is sucking your soul dry. And to do so from a place of self-love. You don't have to blame anybody, and you don't have to feel guilty about it.
Yeah. Thank you, Megha. We didn't talk about that before, but I think a lot of times people just need permission. And I feel like you just gave them that permission. So thank you. A lot of times people are just looking for permission. You know, we're raised in such a way. We just need permission to think a certain way or feel like, oh, it's okay that I think that.
Right.
You?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Megha, you're wonderful. You're so sweet. And I know everyone who is on here and watching and will watch the replay are going to want to reach out to you. But we appreciate you being on here, and we look forward to having you back again. And
Thank you for the conversation. Thanks for the opportunity to be here.
Oh, Dart, wait. Yeah. Dart, you're going to sing us a song tonight.
Well, by request. And so.
Well, I was sorry, I didn't ask. I was just like, Dart, you're going to sing a song. Thank you, Dart, for singing us a song. Because you know what? If I check the emails and I check the messages and people are asking me to please have you play, then I just have to relate that to you and say, will you please play for us?
That's sweet. That's sweet.
Okay. What are you going to sing tonight?
So why don't you while I'm setting this up, why don't you tell them about the song? So from your perspective.
Oh, wait, we didn't talk about this first, Dart.
Like you need to discuss before you can talk?
No, not normally, but then later you might be like, wait a minute, Lisa, you didn't have to tell all of that. That's usually how it comes. I usually find out what I'm going to say just at the same time as everyone else, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but dear friends of ours, Cody Joe Hodges, Cody Joe and his wife, Jamie, they're precious and they're incredible. And we love going out and seeing them. They're from Texas, but they live here in Nashville, and they're incredible singer-songwriters. So much fun. And if we'd have thought about it sooner, we'd have them on. We'll have them on another night. How about that?
Yeah.
So Cody and Jamie, there you go. There's a shout out to you. And that means you're going to have to come on here with us, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this song, Yeah, we just all kind of wrote together, right?
right?
Yeah, it's so much fun. I hope you enjoy it.
So it kind of it goes in line, and it's how that sometimes that there's a line, in it's like sometimes beautiful, sometimes sad can turn out to be beautiful, and so it's more about keeping the faith, and life is wonderful. Sometimes we choose to make mistakes, even though we know it'll end in heartbreak. The miles traveled and the bridges burned. Find out what you don't want from the scars that you've earned. There's a price to pay for your good life. Every battle fought through tears and strife. Sometimes sad turns into beautiful. Keep faith that the next curve could lead to wonderful. Highway of regret can bring you to your knees. You gotta shake off those struggles, go and find your peace, and hold your head up no matter where you've been. Cheers to the past and never going there again. There's a price to pay for your good life. Every battle fought through tears and strife. Sometimes sad turns into beautiful. Keep faith that the next curve can lead to wonderful. There's a price to pay for wonderful. Keep faith.
Good job, Dark. Thank you. I think
That
that
was
went well with our
perfect.
talk. But Megan, thank you so much. I feel like, yes, y'all reach out to Megha. She's incredible. She's amazing. And we just love her dearly. And thank you for being on our show.
Yeah. Thank you, Megha.
Thanks for having me. All right.
Bye.
Take care, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.